Okay, good. Welcome everybody. Today is Wednesday, 8th of July, and this is the Metal3 community meeting. As usual, let's get started. If we have some people on the call that are new and would want to introduce themselves, now would be the time to do it. So I'm going to pause now, and if you want to introduce yourself, just speak up.
Hey, so I guess I've been attending community meetings for a couple of weeks now. This is Himanshu Roy, and so I'm working as part of the KNI community team at Red Hat. And you might have seen one of my blog posts recently on Metal3 development environment. I'm using that to deploy a bare metal cluster.
Great, thank you. Yeah, nice blog post. Yes, indeed.
Hi, community. My name is Shukun Song, and I work in Fujitsu. And currently, we are trying to make some automate network configuration. We've already filed an issue in the community, and my colleague and I had made a speech, a presentation about to introduce the Metal3 in Japan, and we were also trying to make more and more presentations, like Open Source Summit Japan in September. Nice to meet you.
Okay, great. Welcome. Thank you. Is there someone else who wants to introduce themselves?
Hello, and my name is Zhou Hao, and I work with with the same company. Today we just want to see what's the news in the community.
Great, welcome. Okay, then let's jump on the discussion topics. At the moment, there are pretty small list of items, but whenever, well, if there's anything you would want to discuss as part of this call, feel free to add the topic you would want to see discussed with your name in front, so that then we can go into it afterwards. So the first thing is I have added now like a section, like a bit taking the idea from Cluster API that they have this section about the new design proposals that are that have been opened in the previous week to introduce like basically what it does. This so I've added this point because there was a design proposal opened by Jan this week. About node remediation. I don't know if Jan is not on the call right now, so I can like do a quick walkthrough of this proposal. So the idea is to use to extend basically the machine health check that exists in Cluster API that verifies the status of the node on your Kubernetes cluster to make sure that they are like properly running, and if they are not running, then what would normally happen in Cluster API would be that they like delete the node, and just then like a new node will get created automatically by the machine deployment. But in our case, because we're on bare metal, we probably don't want to do something as drastic if it's just a matter that can be solved by a reboot or something like this. So we have proposed to extend the health check on the Cluster API side, and the pending like the equivalent basically on the Metal3 side is what is the content of this proposal is to create a new controller that would reconcile remediation requests by like taking a series of steps, like for example, first rebooting the node, then if it doesn't work, maybe just trying to like go into the deletion, either reprovisioning before then deletion, or just like go directly with the deletion. So this is the proposal. So if you want to like have a look and comment on it, the link is here. Is there any questions related to this? No? Okay, great. Then let's move on to the next topic. I see, Russell, you're on the call. Do you want to take this one? The code of conduct?
Just wondering if it's worth stepping through the proposal very briefly, or should we do that in our own time?
Well, if there's interest, like we can of course like have a look like during this meeting. I can open it anyways.
Thank you.
So well, here like you have a couple of user stories that were detailed, like explaining how we want to automate the remediation. So basically, like when a node is not healthy, bring it back to healthy, and like say that we don't want to do that in a single step, but like Cappy is doing now, but like as a series of steps, like for example rebooting and then going with further actions. So it proposes to introduce this new like remediation controller, and that remediation controller watches for new type of CRDs, that is the Metal3 remediation requests. And then depending on like whether a Metal3 remediation request was created by the health check controller, it will then like act upon that request. So there's one request per machine, so basically per bare metal host under the hood. So there will be like the first attempt would be a reboot, and that will be using the bare metal operator reboot API that we have now. And then it will like it's not clear, like what's under discussion now is still like, should we try to reprovision on the same hardware, or should we just like delete, because like the reprovisioning being the heavy operation, it doesn't really make sense to try to reprovision on a hardware that might actually be faulty. So you can see, like for example here, one of the like how the CRD would look like. So it would like specify the strategy for the remediation, the number of times you're supposed to try to reboot until you consider the machine has completely failed, and then like go into like harder like steps for the reboot, for the remediation. Sorry.
Out of curiosity, do we keep any record of the last known good state of a node? So that we would have something to compare a current state against? That
is a very good question. As far as I know, the only thing we keep track of is the like whenever the node changes of state, like in the history of the bare metal host.
Right.
So there is.
Yeah, sorry. Currently, there's no such thing that we kind of see the previous healthy states for this one, because this remediation controller coming in when these remediation requests are generated. But I was also thinking that probably we should also keep track the time that we try to reboot, or some other fields also adding on those CVs to at least to see that what time we have tried to reboot, and if we stayed in the kind of a failure state there, we can see what is the time for the last action. But anyway, these requests are deleted by the Cappy machine health check if the node is not coming healthy, or the so we are kind of not monitoring any of the nodes before we get these requests, if I understood right your question. But
yeah, what I'm thinking of here is if we had a last known good state and we did not invoke any form of hardware reconfig through IDRAC, through Ironic, I'm sorry, then we might have an opportunity to re-introspect the node to make sure that it is in fact capable of coming up alive through a reboot, as perhaps a means of short-circuiting the self-healing process. Do I make sense there?
I haven't thought that much, but you might have a point there, maybe. Yeah, I don't have now any idea for that. What about you, Mile?
Well, that would be really nice if to detect that it's actually a hardware failure. But I think before that, we probably still want to try to reboot at least once or twice, because it might just be that something went off just on the software level, right? Like something crashed or whatever. Like, but definitely, if we are unsuccessful to reboot a couple of times, then that would definitely be a great way to figure out if the hardware is still like in shape or not.
So I believe that the area of self-healing, auto-remediation is a major area that we need to develop within the Kubernetes framework. And we need to look at that holistically and perhaps map out what the potential causes of failure are, and then look at what the most logical approach is to healing an errant environment. Now, if it's a jittery NIC, obviously the inventory is not going to pick that up, but we would pick that up through introspection, through the logging through the networking side of things. So I think we just treating this as a reboot opportunity might in fact obfuscate or hide a real problem.
Well, we would probably anyways detect that real problem after a couple of tries where it actually still doesn't come up. And in that case, we could take higher level of actions. But it's indeed the great thing with this approach is actually because it's a series of steps, we can always introduce a new one in between. Right. If we figure out that this would be really helpful, then that definitely would be great to do.
Agreed.
So if you don't mind putting a comment maybe on the PR with this ID so that it doesn't get lost. Well, yeah. I'm not saying that it would, but just to make sure it's written somewhere for other people also to refer to. That would be great, please.
That would be nice if you have time. Just give the comments on the PR. So because I'm kind of actively working on this one, so it would be nice to have all the comments in quite soon and just find the way how to implement this.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Jan, do you want to keep going with the rest of the PR, or should I?
Yeah, you can go. There's not much left anymore. So the idea is now I can continue. The first idea is to support this rebooting the node couple of times, and because it's kind of a working relationship with the CAPI machine health check, and if we end up in the state that we try to reboot, let's say 2 or 3 times our node, and machine health check sees that node does not come healthy, we will set the unhealthy annotation on the bare metal host and leave it on. And when we are, and then the last step is to remove the machine that is linked into that unhealthy node, and by deleting that, it will start the deprovisioning. Maybe the node might be also in the state that it doesn't get deprovisioned, or it's in the state that we can't do nothing with it. But with the unhealthy annotation, we kind of put that node into the state. If we get it deprovisioned, it's not gonna be select as a node for new machines until we find out what's the really the problem there. So we kind of want to now in this first step to prevent these unhealthy nodes to be selected as a node for new machines. So yeah, that's the basic idea of the proposal. I don't know what much to add. It's quite simple still, and we are really open for the wide discussion. What should we cover on this one? This anyway thing that I think we need in CAPM3.
Yeah. Maybe I would add something about the templating, that like how basically like the health check on the cluster API side would be configured with a link to like a template for the Metal3 remediation requests, and then whenever it would find unhealthy like node on Kubernetes, then it would create this Metal3 remediation request based on the template for that specific machine, and that's what the controller would be acting on, the remediation requests. So there you can see here there's the link, like 3190 is the equivalent proposal on the cluster API side. And yeah, the rest are probably details that we can skip. Is there any other questions or comments on this?
No, thank you very much for walking through that.
Sure, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, then let's move to the next topic then. Sorry, Russell, this time.
No
do you
problem.
want to take this one?
Sure. So the background to this next topic is that a while back we discussed proposing that Metal3 apply to be a CNCF sandbox project. So within the CNCF, there's different levels of project membership in the or inclusion in the foundation, and the sort of entry level is sandbox. And we did apply for that, and it's been reviewed by the CNCF Technical Oversight Committee, or the TOC, and it was basically declined. But the 2 points that they had were, one, that we had not yet adopted a code of conduct, and the second one was that our roadmap was not clear. And so on the code of conduct note, we did know that was a requirement for sandbox projects, but like the way I interpreted it was that by becoming a sandbox project, then we would adopt, the CNCF code of conduct. So it didn't occur to me that we should do this ahead of time, but no problem. That's what this PR is about. So this PR proposes a code of conduct for this community to adopt. The specifics of the code of conduct: this is the contributor covenant. This is a very popular code of conduct used by many open source communities. In the notes, there's another, well, in the bottom of this document, there's a link, and I also put it in the notes, to the website for the contributor covenant, and it lists, I don't know how many projects, but 50 plus projects say that have adopted this. It's probably a lot more, because when GitHub, one of the things GitHub will do on a repository when it's sort of suggesting next steps and in terms of like setting up your open source project, is it encourages you to adopt a code of conduct now, and this is the template that it suggests. So I'm sure it's spreading pretty quick. So in any case, we basically just adopted this template directly, and for this PR, the only real customizations in the text at this point are, I may have put the project name in there somewhere. And there's one particular detail that is important, which is when it comes to enforcement, where do reports go? And that's what's highlighted here. And so what I put in it's in there somewhere. I'm not actually sure where it is in the document, but you have to say where reports go. And right now it says mail and myself. And the thinking there is that, one, it's not limited to one person, and two, that that where the reports go also are not limited to people at a single organization. So we've got those two names. Oh, it is right there, it's highlighted. In any case, yeah. So that's how that was made, or why that was proposed. But take a look. If you have any questions, comments, feedback, be happy to hear them. But I think this is just a good, important, healthy thing to have as our community continues to grow. I think that's all I have on this. Any comments right now or questions?
I have one about the email addresses. Would it make sense for us to have mail set up on our domain so we could have aliases like doc@metal3.io or even things for like a security reports?
Yeah, that'd be a good improvement. I mean, we don't have that right now. I think I may be able to turn on like aliases. I have to go back and look. Actually, no, I don't think so. I moved. I don't know. I have to go back and look. So it's not set up right now. It's not it'd be a good thing to do. We don't have that set up right now, so that's why it's not used here. But yeah, like a security report alias would also be helpful. If anyone is, I mean, I own the domains at the moment. If anyone's interested in helping with that, I think actually that's another related point here. I think that I have to transfer ownership of domains to the CNCF if and when we are an official CNCF project. And so at that point, I wonder if they would help with such things. They may not. They really don't offer much to sandbox projects other than like you kind of get listed and you can reach out for help. But in terms of like their project infrastructure support and marketing support and that kind of stuff, that's all reserved for the upper levels of the ladder. But that's something I can look into to see if that's something they would help with or how that would work after transferring the domains. But good point, good idea. I agree. But we don't have it at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Then I guess we can go to the next point of this, like CNCF update. That's also the second point that was requested, was this roadmap document. So there is here now like a proposal for a way to handle the roadmap so that it's like created and updated also like continuously by like the community in this kind of like community meetings. So I gave a shot at like trying to do the current that's basically how the current roadmap would look like if this PR is accepted. So there's basically a feature request column where any issue created on the Metal3 docs repository will pop up. And then as part of the, maybe along with the issue triage, we can do a feature request triage or something like this, that then we would move any feature request that we think makes sense to the backlog, so that it will be worked on later on. And then when someone actually commits to implementing this this feature, it could then be moved to whatever version of the component that we are talking about. And here it's mostly BMO and CAPM3 listed, but if there's something related to Ironic, it probably would be part of BMO or can be added there. So that's the basic idea. Then we can just move the cards around. It's pretty straightforward, and it's managed the same way with assign people. I mean, it's issues, right? So they can just be assigned to someone and then have labels about them, the priority, etc., and then it gives everything at once, view on the roadmap of the project. So this is basically what this document highlights, like proposes that the maintainers or the approvers of the Metal3 docs repository would then have access to this roadmap and would be able to update it, and then it would be done commonly during a community meeting. So same thing here. If you have any comments, please go and add it in this PR. Is there any questions or comments related right now related to this roadmap? Okay, good. Then let's get back on the agenda for the rest. The next item I put there, like it's more like kind of an announcement, like a PSA or something that we like. The Metal3 setup is currently broken. Like we have found a problem with the IPA token, and the fact that we had a half-baked in like fast track approach that kind of like came and turned out like to be problematic when we tried to turn off the node after the provisioning. So the issue is here, and I can actually add to this like a fix that, well, or hopefully a fix that was like created by Dimitri. So I can just walk through like because if you're like you've been seeing the errors, you're probably wondering what exactly is happening and why. So what was the actual problem? So the fact is that until now we were like not turning off the node after the introspection. So after the introspection, the node was doing a lookup towards Ironic to figure out what it like information about itself, basically, including retrieving the token that it uses later on to identify itself. But then this behavior was a bit problematic in a way that it was missing something, and that was causing a reboot, basically, of the node. And in some cases, it was like triggering basically a new introspection because the node was not finding itself, and like the node was keeping like looping over, like introspecting, reporting to inspector, and then at that point, inspector had a bug that was like making it report errors. It was like nothing like you could safely discard that error, but then it made us realize that this was going on. So we tried to turn off the node after the introspection so that it doesn't loop after the first introspection, sorry, so that it doesn't loop. And when we did that, what was not realized was that the lookup actually happens, and then when we power off the node, we actually lose the token. So the next time we power it on, it tries to do a lookup to get a token, but then Ironic says, hey, I already gave you a token, so I'm not going to give you a new one. And then all further requests are failing with this failed to verify, or like something like about the node not presenting, like IPA not presenting a token during the HUD beat. And then it's blocked in the provisioning state and it cannot go further for that reason. So the way like we tried to fix that is to set power off to true when we are not using fast track. So this means that Ironic will, instead of letting IPA do a lookup after the first introspection, it will actually power off the node. And then BMO will just make sure that it stays powered off, meaning that the next time it's going to boot, it will actually be able to retrieve the token. So this should fix the first part, and all these changes about this, like making sure that we do not have a lookup and a reboot coming one after the other. And then there was also another change done by Dimitri on the Ironic side that is actually just wiping out the token from the database whenever the node is powered off, like whether it's a reboot or just a soft power off or whatever, so that whenever it boots, it will get a new token anyway. So there was a bug on the Ironic side and also a misconfiguration on our side that made the whole thing like crash. So hopefully this will pass the CI. That would fix a first step, and then we will focus on fixing the logic in Ironic. Well, the patch is there, but it needs to be tested and verified.
So it sounds like this was mostly a problem when Fast Track was disabled, right?
Yes, but Fast Track has been disabled now for a long time because of an issue with like the old version of Ironic, and then when we tried to re-enable it, it was missing that parameter, so it was basically rebooting and hitting the same problem of token in the Fast Track side. So hopefully now with all those fixes, it will fix both the non-Fast Track and the Fast Track, but of course it needs to be tested.
Yeah, so I think I already commented on one of the issues related to this, but I've done quite a bit of testing with Fast Track turned on, and there was one Ironic image fix that was on request 163, and also a related PR to Ironic itself. It was actually to IPA. So another option would be to consider turning Fast Track back on once we've got all of this working again. In the downstream CI where we're running VMs, it's saving about 3 minutes, so that reboot is reasonable saving. And obviously on bare metal, it's going to be a lot more, so that could be worth taking another look at.
Yeah, actually, we already have the PR there to set the Fast Track on again. Unfortunately, it's still not working properly and not passing the CI. But once all those fixes are going in, we will try it again, and see what's the status.
So what started my investigation was we actually turned that back on in the downstream environment, but then Fast Track wasn't working. It was rebooting again and not heartbeating. And so that was the reason that the Ironic image 163 and the other IPA fix landed. And obviously you've now followed up with Dimitri and found another issue. But I think we should be pretty close to having Fast Track working reliably, and at least in my test environment now it's working quite well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree that with all those fixes, like we hopefully will get it. And thanks a lot for investigating that. It was in our to-do list for a while, and then we never had time to do it. So it's great that you did it. Let's hope that once everything lands in the packages, this PR passes. That will re-enable the Fast Track upstream, like in the CI at least. So putting Fast Track back to true everywhere, and with the change that Dimitri made, then it will also like set the power off to false by default for Fast Track.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Is there any further question related to this bug, like for those of you who've been affected today and yesterday and would want to know more, maybe?
No, we'll be waiting for this to get fixed so that we can test this out on the real hardware.
Okay, great. Then let's move on in the agenda. Sorry, I don't want to mispronounce the name Zoo, or like you have added something here. If you're talking, we cannot hear you. You might be muted.
Yes, but the PR 292, we just want to get some feedback from the community. We just want to know what we can improve it.
Okay, so you're asking for reviews, right?
Yeah, it's my comment.
Okay, well, I guess the message went through, and hopefully, like this will be reviewed soon. Anything else related to this PR, or should we move on maybe to either if there's no other topic, the issue triage, or if there is like maybe another? Okay, well then let's move to the to the issue triage. Yeah, let me just fetch the link here. Stefan, you've been like usually leading this. Do you want to take over or?
Yeah, let me see if I can get screen sharing working here in Teams. I'll try that.
Oh, that's actually a good question. We didn't try yet. If your guest, maybe I should do something so that you can present. Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Oh, cool. New issues. So there's 9 new issues. I'll open these in tabs. Okay. Latest Ansible version should be used in Metal3 Dev. Currently, in Ubuntu-based deployments, Ansible is fixed to 2.91. In the case of CentOS, it's the latest, but since version 2.99, the following issue is fixed.
Yeah. So yeah, Kashif opened this. So he's on holidays today, so he won't be there. He opened this because there was an update of Ansible, and then it changed something in the way it changes the uses. And when you go from like running a couple of things as root and then like fall back to a normal user, it doesn't really like it. So we need to figure out what is happening and maybe like either fix it or like change the way we are using different uses, or well, it's basically a bug. It works right now with the old version, but it would be obviously good not to be stuck with an old one. So yeah. There's are you still muted maybe, or like did you just not say anything?
Sorry, I was muted and no one said anything. Is this a bug and backlog sound right, or do you want the?
No, that's good. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, I was muted and talking to myself. So next one is failed to save host status errors bombarding DMO logs.
Actually, I think we fixed that one. It was like when we had this whole discussion with Zane and Doug about the fact that we were saving the status in the annotation. Now this is removed. This whole feature altogether was like removed. So I think we can just close it if Doug agrees on this, and Zane if on the call.
I think Zane is on PTO until next week.
Yeah, I think we've resolved this. Wasn't there a change recently that made that a little more quiet?
Yeah, we actually just completely removed writing the annotation in bare metal operator.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry that too, but I thought there was something that quieted the traceback and just logged a little message and continued on. So, but either way, yes, I think this is done.
Okay, I will put it in.
Thanks.
Okay. Next one is purge offensive language from Metal3 DIO repositories.
Yes, so I opened this one to follow like what is happening in a lot of code repositories and after the movement like Black Lives Matters. So the idea is to change, like stop using master wherever we are using it. So a couple of like not that much changes yet, like just master to control plane, slave to worker, and then well, I don't know if we are using actually whitelist and blacklist anywhere, but like moving that to allow and deny. But the main thing would be renaming the branches also to renaming them to main.
Yeah, that makes sense. We probably have to deal with this in a bunch of repositories, especially terminology changes. I don't think we're using. I think you're right. I don't think we have any white or blacklist. Although maybe. No, I don't think we expose anything like that. But
well, we can search and replace. It's going to be quite straightforward.
Yeah, as long as there's no API fields, which I don't recall any. Did GitHub have a solution for the main? I thought they were going to do something where maybe they would allow aliases that would allow like a smoother move from master to main.
Yeah, so GitHub was at some point talking about doing that automatically for all projects anyways. I don't know where they are right now with this ID. We can go along anyway, like either go along with what they're going to do and just wait for them to do it if they do it, or be proactive and just do it ourselves by creating a new branch and then just switching there. Knowing that there's a couple of things that we would, of course, need to adapt specifically on the Prow and Jenkins side.
Yeah, that makes sense. So would you call this cleanup then? Kind of cleanup?
Yeah.
Do you have a sense of the priority, important soon, maybe?
Yeah, I would say soon.
Cool. The next one is bare metal host fluctuating between provisioning and deprovisioning. Provisioning control plane node provisioning exceeds. Current result, provisioning status changes between provisioning and deprovisioning indefinitely.
Yeah, so this is also someone from our team who opened this. Well, I'm not exactly sure what he was facing there. Like, apparently, like it was not able to provision the VM, and then it was like looping. Like that's why he was seeing the provision, but he didn't give really something that was able, like, made us able to figure out what was really happening.
It sounds like Ironic couldn't write the image to the disk, if that's, or maybe using in some kind of corrupted image for the OS. Would you mark this as a bug? It doesn't. I'm not sure what we can do about it without more detail.
Maybe like waiting for more evidence or something like this, if there is like to know if he's able to reproduce this.
Next one is automatically configure the switch before bare metal host configuration. Oh, so this is for, sorry, for a network API.
Yeah, there should be in the issue a bit towards the end the link to the Google Docs that was opened for this. Yeah, in the one that says I created a file in Google Doc, the file is the link. So is the person who created this PR on the call or not? Probably not. Anyways, so this is basically a feature request. So it will probably be able to go through the roadmap triaging process that is like now proposed. But otherwise, like maybe kind feature and like important long term.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Oh, actually, this is also one that we could have like put. Well, it was not opened yet as a PR, but that we could have put in the new proposals at the beginning of the meeting. But yeah, anyways, doesn't matter. We'll do it once the PR is opened.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are interested in automating their network. Metal3 dev and recurring problems. This usually contains a list of issues that are seen. Is this the idea here to be some kind of tracking issue?
That sounds like it would be the goal.
But if everything is in the metal cube dev, and why would we do a separate issue?
Exactly.
Oh, I guess it's to link. It's to link issues from other repos.
Yeah. My guess would be that he opened this after, like, because recently we had quite a bit of instability and seeing lots of problems in the logs, like related to the changes with this, like ironic and all that we've done. So I guess he opened that to track it, maybe.
Yeah. Basically, it looks like this is a placeholder for all the issues, so you get to see all of them at one place. Maybe. Or that would be an intent.
Yeah, then how do we label this?
Yeah, we've not done something like this in the past. I'm not opposed to having a place to aggregate issues. If there's a bunch of things going on, then I'll need tracking in one place. I don't think GitHub gives you a very good tool to do that.
Maybe a documentation or something of that sort. Or not exactly documentation, but something relevant. Because
I mean, we could leave it unlabeled as well. It's been open for 5 days and there's nothing linked here yet. So,
well, that person is now on sick leave since, like, he opened it on Friday, I guess, and then Monday was on sick leave. So, anyways, we wouldn't have had time to do anything on there.
How about awaiting more evidence and then we just ask what the plan for this issue is?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Next one is update the testing documentation with test tool installation guidance.
This had a PR associated with already.
Yeah, I did see that. Although Lint was passing locally for me.
Yeah, the problem there was that he was trying to run it locally, and the linters were not at the same, like, it was not the same version, so it was failing in locally. So maybe we can put like more like documentation as a label here, and probably no need for a timeline considering that there's already a PR for it.
Yeah, that makes sense. And since there's PR is open, we can leave priority off. Running make as root is not forbidden, but minikube fails the init. If you run the make command as root, it's not forbidden. Does it? I thought you could run minikube as root. I guess I haven't tried it in a long time. We used to run the OpenShift stuff as root. Does this sound like a bug then?
Yeah.
All right, last one. Ironic node auth seems to be broken. Is this what you're talking about with the?
Yes, exactly. That's the one. The issues we're facing today, and that we have been working on. So this issue, sorry, like I'd like probably to keep it open until we have like fully fixed everything, but we actually need to open a more detailed one on the ironic image side, explaining the changes that are required on the configuration of ironic and why it was like actually creating the problem. So, well, either we can move that to the ironic image and then put all the details there, or we just create a new image, a new issue on the ironic image repository.
If the problem is in the ironic repo, I'd be inclined to just transfer it there. What do you think about doing that?
Yeah, but as a result, it's also like the whole Metal3 event that is broken. So I don't know. Like we can just leave this one here until like everything works fine and open a new one on ironic image. That's also fine for me. I don't know, like however you want to do it.
We can leave it here. I mean, I suppose that's fine if you're. Yeah, I mean that should be fine. And if you do, when you do open an issue in ironic, you can link it back to here.
Yeah, and once everything is fixed, both on the ironic image side and in ironic itself, and the packages have made, like the fix has made it to the packages, then we will close this issue.
Okay, sounds good.
Because there's the first thing is the workaround in the ironic image that will get things going, but then we still need the actual fix in ironic to land. That might take a bit more time.
Okay. Sounds good. So that is it for triaged issues. There might be some, let's take a look at the awaiting evidence. So there's a couple of old ones in here. So these two need clarification for cluster creation and node provisioning with hardware.
Yeah, hi Stephen. Sumit here. So we raised this a couple of months back, and now we are able to provide it properly. We were actually planning to close this issue like yesterday or today, but somehow we started facing that ironic node auth issue, and then we thought to wait for some more time and then update this. We actually completed it last week. Till the time it was working fine, and today, I mean, from Monday it started failing. So we thought to like wait for some time and then update this.
Well, considering that the ironic problem is separated and this tract is in its own issue, maybe we can just go on with closing this one. If you said it was
sure. Yeah. We'll close with the proper comments so that this can be closed. Yeah,
I think
we'll put a comment.
this issue is resolved, right? I mean, we can close this one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine if you want to take the time and come back and write a description.
Yeah, I mean, probably when the current issue gets resolved, we'll update with the proper comment. So because some of the steps will also change in V1 Alpha 4. There were recent commits. So even we will check, test those, and then we can update this.
Yeah, okay. We can leave this.
Yeah.
I'll leave the waiting more evidence label, so we'll take a look next meeting.
Sure. Yeah, we'll do it on priority. Yeah, thank you.
The next one is namespace hard-coded in the chart. This was for the Metal3 Helm chart. There's been no reply since May, so this is about 2 months. And we did think when we looked at this that the namespace is configurable from the Helm charts. Would we want to close this? There's been no report from the reporter since April.
Good for me.
Okay. Cool. That's it for awaiting new evidence, and that should conclude triage. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Great, and we are also actually reaching the end of the meeting time. I just went back to the agenda. There's no other item, so I would propose then that we just conclude the meeting here, and just then wish you a nice day and see you in 2 weeks.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks all.